Hey friends, Iron Banner's back, which means I'm making the same video I've made 100 times talking about the ideal god rolls of Iron Banner. From video to video, my opinion does change, so it is worth rewatching or re-listening to, doing chores and whatnot. For my audio listeners, that's what I'm going to be doing. For my visual listeners, I have the text-based version in the description. If you just want to Control F, find exactly what weapon you're looking for, and move on. I appreciate the subscription, I appreciate the view, you're the best. I'm not in the game right now because maintenance just started before Iron Banner, so we're just going to have to use D2 Foundry, which, by the way, if you use and appreciate this website, consider donating. Now, in general, let's talk about some Iron Banner things. Skulking Wolf is the origin trait featured on all of the Iron Banner guns, which is spoken about, but I don't think is spoken about highly enough. This is an incredible perk. So, if you are low health, below 90 HP, and you succeed on the kill, you are granted enhanced radar and you're off the radar for 10 seconds. That's like getting invisibility from Rat King, or better. That's ridiculously strong. So you should care about these Iron Banner rolls for PvP, but that perk is also going to be buffed in PvE to make enemies less aggro on you or like miss you more. I forget the exact verbiage, but it will have a niche PvE use too. So what's my recommendation then for focusing your engrams in Iron Banner? Your reputation per hour, your drops per hour. Well, obviously you want to wear 5 Iron Banner pieces. I'm pretty sure Destiny Item Manager is still working. So you want to wear the Iron Banner transmog on all 5 of your pieces, as well as maybe consider using a power weapon. You can also pull a power weapon from collections, like the remote detonation grenade launcher is pretty good. But you could also just use an Iron Banner weapon, like Crimil's Dagger or something, and it will count as a bonus to rep. I think you only need 5 pieces total, and then the emblem does also count. I'm guessing it didn't update because of maintenance, but I do have it in my inventory. So you're going to be getting a lot of engrams with all that rep, but you're not necessarily going to be able to focus them all because Glimmer is going to be your bottleneck. So you need a way to get more Glimmer than engrams. And so obviously you should be using the tonics from this season, the large glimmering tonic anytime you play Iron Banner. But if you're really fighting for Glimmer, I would recommend doing the Breach Executable mission, which you can launch from the helm, or just follow failsafe's missions until you unlock it. It's very, very quick, and I'm talking you can get the full stack 500,000 Glimmer from scratch in under an hour by doing that mission. So it's really, really good for that. Anything else I'm missing? Oh yeah, as far as turning in the engrams go, don't go for a 5 out of 5 god roll on any specific weapon. Go for a 3 out of 5 on all the weapons you're interested in, then go for a 4 out of 5 on all the weapons you're interested in, then go for a 5 out of 5 on your favorites. That way you can walk away from the Iron Banner with some usable loot, rather than going 4 out of 5 on the same piece of loot and walking away with a 4 out of 5. You understand? If you are a PvE player, there's really only 2 weapons I can recommend, which is the Tinasha sidearm with chill clip. No, you don't need air assault or whatever that perk's called. Let's just look at it now. You do not need air trigger or deconstruct to make it usable. All you need is chill clip. But if you did want to go for a 5 out of 5 because you're a raid speedrunner or something like that, yes, air trigger makes more sense for the extra ammo. For PvE, I believe the gunsmith is giving a perfect multi-mock with attrition orbs, kinetic tremors. So just buy that one if you haven't. I don't even think there's an upgrade to that. It's as good as it's going to get. So those are the PvE recommendations. Okay, now we can start with the video. Remember, all of this is in the description if you skipped ahead for some reason. So we're going to start with Crimil's Dagger as the most desirable weapon. It's a hand cannon, right? So you make love to the wall. You win your gunfights that way. It's fantastic. It's a 120. It's better for team fighting. I would recommend a mix of range stability and handling since it does need all 3. And this is probably the combination I would go for. Steady rounds to give you a slight bonus to AE. Fluted barrel. I could go extended mag to make the AE even more and then also get more bullets off of sliding. But if specifically you keep the magazine low, you can proc Facet of Solitude on Prism, which can proc Flawless Execution, which makes you go invis. It happens about half the time with the magazine of 8. If it was 7, it would be like closer to 100. But I mean, take it. It's a free tangle and free invis, just for playing the game. You also don't need to reload that much if you go for Slideways, which is the main perk that I'm going to recommend. Look at the stat bumps you get for Slideways. It's almost non-negotiable. If you did go extended mag, you're probably reloading 3 bullets per slide, which is also very good considering you're going to be shooting at clones, barricades, and grenades. But it's pretty much always Slideways. If for some reason you didn't want to go Slideways, maybe you want like a more consistent feel, you're grounded or whatever, moving target is perfectly fine. And if you're running like a barricade or a rift build or something like that, Strategist isn't bad either. I would even say I value this on something like 6 Coyote and Radiant, just to help keep my clone dodge up as much as possible. I'd run it with Kill Clip or Adagio and go kill chaining. But in general, what I'm going to recommend is always go for Slideways. Then the other perk, if you want consistency, opening shot or Zen moment. Remember, enhancing gives you a bonus to stability with Zen moment. So either of these for stability or for consistency. Precision Instrument is worth it because you can 3-tap Overshield Titans when they throw a barricade down and get plus 40 HP Overshield. Adagio is a 0.6 time to kill for kill chaining. Kill Clip gets Resilience gated, but is a 0.5. And then Explosive Payload flinches their screen, but the perk makes the gun kind of inconsistent, but it's still worth keeping if everything else rolled correctly. Moving on, the second weapon that I recommend is Multimach. I think you go rangefinder since now there are new mods that can increase the zoom of the weapon, making it auto rifle zoom just like the old Multimach. So the combination of stat perks I recommend, probably small bore, and then depending on what your masterwork is, like let's say it's a stability masterwork, I want accurized rounds. If it's a range masterwork, I want steady rounds. Not just for the AE, but I think that having a specific combination of range and stability leads to more shots landed at the extreme range of the gun. Yes, there are players out there that can control the full bore version, maximum range, minimum stability. I'm not that player. I know what I'm capable of and what I'm consistent with, and I go for a range of stability, a mix of range and stability. And it helps proc kinetic tremors if you want to go that route with frozen targets, but as we just found out, target lock recently got buffed, so you probably want to go target lock for 3s and kill clip for 6s. And if you run a freeze build, kinetic tremors. We've already talked about PvE. A niche role I would recommend is under over for fighting against rifts. And then if you don't land rangefinder, moving target is also good. I think dynamic sway is a bit of a bait pick. Iron gaze, same thing there. And attrition orbs is unlikely to proc in PvP scenarios. Moving on, the third weapon I recommend is Occluded Finality. This thing bends bullets, telescope aim. It's a fantastic gambit pick. Just a mix of range and handling. Since it's a special weapon, you only get half the bonus of opening shot, but that's pretty much the only combo I recommend. If you main an arc class, yeah, elemental capacitor is very, very good for getting the fastest swap speed possible. And if you get everything else right, I think you can also walk away with Demolitionist for grenade builds. So something like that. Range, handling, if you want the AE extended mag, and if you want the clip potential of ricocheting bullets around the corner, then obviously you go ricochet rounds. The next weapon to talk about is Pressurized Precision, especially for my controller players. The main perk is Discord, so if you get a kill with your other weapon and swap to this one, your kills for the next couple seconds will refund ammo. For the next 7 seconds, it will refund ammo. That's incredible. You only start with 1 bullet in PvP, so high impact reserves makes the most sense. But rangefinder also bends bullets, and if you got Eye of the Storm, you might as well just call it there because it's really hard to get a 5 out of 5 on this. Depending on the meta and what opponents you're playing against, you're either going to want to go accelerated coils or projection fuse. There's not really a case for liquid coils, as you're probably going to be switching archetypes if you have to be hitting opponents that hard. But still, if you get it, keep it. You're probably not upgrading from that. The masterwork on any fusion rifle I recommend is pretty much always going to be charge time, by the way. And then, what barrel? I would just say go for range and stability. You can't go wrong with small bore. So this is what the perfect pressurized precision would look like. Moving on, talk about Gnora's axe. Yes, I'm aware that the Inquisitor from Trials is really good. We'll just compare both of them right now. You probably don't even need perpetual motion, so maybe Demolitionist there. Yeah, look at that. 99 range, 100 handling. It's not even struggling to hit that, right? Inquisitor is amazing, but it doesn't have Skulking Wolf. That is what makes Gnora's axe better, in my opinion. Also, Threat Detector is an information perk, so if you use Gambler's Dodge to refresh your smoke or you want to suss out invis players, this is a good way to do it. Yes, it's inferior in a lot of ways to Inquisitor, but I still think it's fantastic. So you can go for a very high range roll, so you get the maximum slug distance, or you can go for a mix of range and handling, and with Threat Detector, it's going to be like 100 anyway. So there's a lot of wiggle room, depending on if you want the extra AE from Extended Mag, or if you want Ricochet rounds. It doesn't really have to be Ricochet, though. Just any of the range boosting perks will work. I like using this with Hawkmoon. Skulking Wolf does come up, and it works on your other weapon, too. So you can like swap off the shotgun and get it on your Hawkmoon. It's really strong. Next weapon to talk about is the Wizen Rebuke, the other fusion rifle. This one's pretty easy. Under pressure or iron grip with high impact reserves. I toyed around with backup plan on a roll I got, and I didn't like it too much. You could cope for steady hands too, if you want just to swap off a bit as soon as you get a kill. But I would just say no brainer it. Under pressure, high impact reserves, accelerate coils, charge time masterwork, and maybe small bore. Like, yes, the handling's really low, but I mean, it's a fusion rifle. You want it to replace a primary anyway. So yeah, this is a high impact choice. Yes, Glacioclasm just came out, but Glacioclasm does not have Skulking Wolf, and seeing as it's a fusion rifle, if you're playing good opponents, they're going to shoot you before you pre-charge this thing, and they might even get you weak. So it's just like free invis for using what is already considered a really strong fusion rifle. Moving on, controller players, do not walk away from this Iron Banner without getting one of these. This is a very, very meta weapon. Even more so now that SMGs have gotten buffed in their magazine, because this can proc Facet of Solitude on Prism to give you those walls from its base TTK. What I'm going to recommend on P-Spawn, this is a 3-burst sidearm. Rangefinder in either Swashbuckler or Harmony, so you can have a kill perk that drops its time to kill. 0.43 with Swashbuckler, or you can get a single kill to make it a clean 2-burst at a 0.5, or you can pick up orbs, or you can use Bacchus to achieve a 0.5. You can also use Harmony. You can even use the wall hack shotgun with this sidearm on a close map like Endless Veil, something like Omnioculus to get up close. This thing's going to rip. And you're always going to be proccing Skulking Wolf if they also have a sidearm or an SMG. As for the rest of the perks, just a high mix of range and stability. Doesn't really matter what. And there you go. Especially if you go back in your strict sleeves, you don't even have to worry about the handling, but 50 is very decent for a sidearm. Next weapon is Joram's Claw. This is an adaptive pulse rifle. And if you're worried about getting cleanly 2-burst by these, you got to go to 4 resilience. But because Bygones isn't very popular now, you don't have to worry about these, which is exactly why I want you to keep one in your vault. The roll isn't very complicated. You either want Kill Clip or Golden Tricorn or Headseeker, depending on if you're always going to be Radiant. So Kill Clip or Golden Tricorn probably is the base recommendation where you're just trying to take one of the burst off the time to kill. The other perk, I recommend Moving Target or Iron Grip. Pretty much those two. If you solely live in the 6s playlist, though, Encore is also very good. Let's just assume Moving Target Kill Clip, though. Then you probably do want to go Arrowhead, so the recoil direction's 100, Ricochet, and then a range or a stability masterwork. With a Radiant build, this is one of the top weapons in 6s. It is so strong. Moving on, we're starting to get to more of the wildcard picks, but I've seen this do work. It's not occluded finality levels of bullet bending, but I've seen Steezel run around with something like this. where it has 100 range and slick draw, so it's 100 range, 100 handling, which means its hip fire is very consistent, so you can kind of have a pseudo shotgun that's also a sniper. It's really funny. Check Steezel's YouTube channel for an example of this, but he essentially hits him with a bow and then hot swaps to this Bite of the Fox and just cleans it up with a body shot. It's so funny to see in action. But if you're going for a more practical role, it's exactly what you think it is. It's just snapshot, opening shot with a mix of handling and range perks. The final meta weapon that I'm going to recommend is Allied Demand. It's not exactly a Drang replacement, but it does have rangefinder to bridge that gap, and you get to also keep Skulking Wolf because it's an Iron Banner weapon. For the other perk, I would recommend Eye of the Storm, and then as long as you don't roll Gut Shot, you should be pretty much okay with any of these perks. Then for the rest of it, just range and stability. Now we get to the part of the video where I'm going to recommend off-meta or niche picks, starting with the most, I wanted to say most lethal, whatever, Lethal Abundance. The reason you want this one is because of Slice. If you play with triple Behemoth, you go Collective Action, you run the Boot perk that allows you to get charged with light for picking up Stasis Shards, and then you run 2 Surges. So you're going to have a base 0.67 if you have Slice active because you're using the Hoarfrost chest piece. You're also proc and Slice, which makes the opponent do 10% less damage, which means if you're in a mirror match, this is a really, really good weapon to use it. Then if you proc Skulking Wolf, you can make a realistic play in a 3v2. This is an incredible weapon. But if you're solo, just go Onslaught. You go from a 0.83 to a 0.7, then a 0.6, then a 0.5. Just for getting multi-kills. It's fantastic. As for the stat perks, mix of range, handling, stability. All 3 are important on this gun. Next weapon, Reese Walker. I think comparing it to other shotguns, what makes this one unique is Discord, and if you're going to go Discord anyway, you might as well go Harmony so you can save some bullets in like a checkmate scenario. Just makes it range and handling. It's going to be fine. You will also occasionally proc Skulking Wolf, which is useful. But yeah, you're pretty much saving this for checkmate to save on bullets. Hero's Burden is not one that I recommend, seeing as target lock just got buffed. But now we have to compare, like, what is it doing unique, right? The other Void SMG to talk about is Shayura's Wrath, and Shayura's Wrath has target lock, therefore you should spare the vault space and not also keep a kill clip Shayura's. In this case, I'm going to recommend Hero's Burden with kill clip because you also have Skulking Wolf here, and Zen Moment, and its hand cannon zoom. So for a mouse and keyboard player that just wants to laser down a lobby, I think this is a lot of fun. Not exactly a meta pick, but I'm not going to say I'm keeping 2 Shayuras in my vault. I'm just going to keep the meta Shayura, and then I'm going to keep the fun Hero's Burden. So that's how I'm compartmentalizing it. Just Zen, kill clip, and you probably do want to go extended barrel for the 100 recoil direction. In fact, let me update my notes with that real quick. Because it is noticeable. Claws of the Wolf is one that I really can't recommend because its base stats are so bad that you have to go overboard with your build to make up for it. I'll give you a couple examples of what you can do with it. You can run Gear Falcon with Repulsor Kill Clip. Although you have a 0.8 time to kill, Kill Clip brings you down to a 0.67, but then Repulsor Brace also adds 45 HP on you, which makes their time to kill longer. So it's kind of nice for kill chaining. You proc Skulking Wolf all over the place, and because it's a rapid fire frame, you proc Facet of Solitude for the wall hacks. So you have a lot of flexibility with this gun. It's just not a very good gun. As far as what I recommend for the barrel mag masterwork, it's rough. It needs every stat here, so it's really, really hard to recommend that. You're just going to have to go off feel. You could try to fix it with Elemental Capacitor on Arc for handling, or Void for stability, and then maybe even use Zen Moment to help fix the feel of this gun. You could also try the same thing with Snapshot and not go any handling whatsoever, and let Snapshot act as pseudo handling. It really is just go by feel. You could also go Radiant Dragon Shadow for the handling, where you use Headseeker to boost the aim assist from missing, along with Kill Clip plus Radiant. so that you can get down to a 0.47 time to kill as you start adding up the Surge, Reaper mod, etc. You have to put a lot of work in for this gun, and I don't want to talk you out of it because it is fun, but it's a lot of work. You got to test a lot of different rolls, take a lot of vault space up before you find one that doesn't feel like throwing. Archon's Thunder, I believe, was added this season. It is a machine gun. And obviously, you're going to be going for 4 times the charm with killing tally, and you enhance it, you get more magazine. You go extended magazine or tac mag or appended mag, so you can pull the most off the wall, which means you don't have to run backup mag, which means you can run radar booster and have that useful the whole match. For the stats, all 3 stats are important there, but I think it's dying for stability the most. So probably something like Fluted and a Stability Masterwork. You're going to be comparing this to Hammerhead. Hammerhead's superior. It's just so much easier to use, even considering Skulking Wolf. The one thing I think this has going for it is if you're playing really, and I mean really sweaty opponents, like the highest skill players in the game, and you pull Power Weapon off the wall, sometimes it is too risky to peek with a Power Weapon because you might just instantly get sniped and drop power on the floor. So what you do is you just empty half of your magazine into the wall. That way, if you take a future risky peek, you don't drop purple ammo on the floor. And so if you're going to do that anyway, you could also run high impact reserves and killing tally. So you could just be running around with a native 6% damage boost, which will let you 3-tap some opponents. Not everybody runs Titan. So that is worth considering if one happens to drop at the end of an Iron Banner match. Next weapon is the Guiding Sight. It's a high impact scout rifle, which really wants aim assist. Like if you compare it to Jade Rabbit or something, it's incomparable. It is so much harder to use. Jade Rabbit's around here somewhere. Yeah, Jade Rabbit doubles its aim assist and then has 80 stability, right? So it's incomparable. It's not going to feel the same. So build into what it does that Jade Rabbit doesn't, which is slice and kill clip, or slice and cascade point. Something like that, where you use Prism and or Radiant or something like that to give you wall hacks, get Skulking Wolf in the mix. Maybe you run it with Prometheus Lens into Cascade Point or something like that. This weapon needs a lot of work, just like Claws of the Wolf. Slice is a very powerful perk. So if you're using a loadout that for whatever reason isn't using Jade Rabbit, maybe it's worth letting this collect some dust in your vault. The final weapon I'm going to recommend, consider everything else just not worth it, or put it in the comment section if you think I missed something dire here, and I will add a heart to it, maybe even update the text description. The final weapon I'm going to recommend is Frontier's Cry with kill clip and then something that boosts the AE. 180 RPM hand cannons are not the ideal archetype, and even if you were going to use a 180 RPM hand cannon, there are better ones because they all have precision instrument, enhanced precision instrument, which does help you beat up hunters and warlocks who aren't running high resilience with a 0.67 from base. And why work for a kill when you could just have a 0.67 base? So that's what it has to compare to. But it does have Skulking Wolf, and if you make a specific Radiant build to run around with it, it can go pretty crazy, especially if you also build into the other thing that the frame does, which is high AE. You get Knucklehead Radar Lucky Pants with this. You get a in-flight compensator mod on your helmets, and you're starting to cook with some gasoline here. Your AE is starting to go up to the hundreds. And on controller, that's going to feel fantastic. Like most of the other Iron Banner weapons, you want to prioritize range stability and handling pretty equally here. So your stat spread would look something like that. As for the other perk, you're probably going to run one targeting mod, so it's going to look like this. Which means one proc of tunnel vision is 100 aim assist. So 100 aim assist and 100 AE is going to feel phenomenal on controller. It's going to be bending bullets like you've never felt before. On mouse and keyboard, it's just, that's how every hand cannon feels. But controller players will be able to experience that for the first time. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, friends, I hope you got your chores done or you made it to work safely. I will see you in the next. Best of luck gambling your Iron Banner loot. Or if you just don't feel like it, I hope you enjoy whatever other game or hobby you're playing right now. Should be fun.